To many thousands of motorists, the Hillman Imp is an economical, reliable and comfortable family saloon. But before any private owner bought his first couple of gallons of petrol, endless, grueling miles were covered by prototypes. The Imp's behaviour was studied by experts as it was put through its paces on a skid pan. Its cornering powers were tested to limits far beyond those normally required by family motorists. And if that weren't enough, prototypes were sent to the Arctic Circle and given a hammering in sub-zero temperatures. Their performance was painstakingly recorded and teething faults ironed out before production ever started. To another climatic extreme, to the equator, where the tropical terrain of Africa offered a test ground unparalleled in its severity. A suspension system which could stand up to the rutted tracks and a body which could keep out dust had to be perfected. Some of the first Imps produced took a team of climbers to Turkey. Heavily laden with mountaineering gear, they stormed the foothills of the Taurus Range. The impact of a new rear-engine saloon was being felt throughout the world. It wasn't long before Imps were entered in international competitions, and in the 1964 Monte Carlo Rally, one was the highest placed of the Glasgow starters. This was perhaps the forerunner to the series of brilliant successes which were soon to follow. Meanwhile, many private owners drove their Imps in other events, such as the speed hill climbs at Prescott near Cheltenham. The cars were rapidly acquiring a reputation for their superb road holding and acceleration. The 1965 Monte, one of the toughest ever in the long history of this famous classic, with only 35 cars surviving out of the 237 which started. But Rosemary Smith's Imp was one of them, being runner-up for the ladies' prize into the bargain. At Silverstone in May 1965, the Imp had a place of honour for winning outright the International Tulip Rally. Rosemary Smith, accompanied by Tiny Lewis, who came second, did a parade lap before the enthusiastic crowds to commemorate this outstanding achievement. Only a few weeks after their Tulip victory, the Imps were entered for the International Scottish Rally. At 8 o'clock on Whit Monday morning, 105 cars began to leave the start point in Glasgow's Blytheswood Square. Despite a heavy drizzle, large crowds turn out to see them on their way. Ahead of them is a route of 1,660 miles, looping first southwards, then into the hills in the west, and on to the northeast Highlands for a night stop at Grantown-on-Spey. On the Wednesday, 310 miles of Highland motoring and a similar loop on the Thursday, before a shorter haul back to Eagle Lodge near Glasgow on Friday. The Forestry Commission kindly lent their private land for special timed sections. Timo McKinnon from Finland in a works end at Austin Healey 3000 knows only too well that on these sections ahead, every second matters. So too does last year's winner Roger Clark with his Ford Cortina GT. Clark moves away to the start of this, the first of 52 special sections. While Rosemary Smith awaits her turn, Timo McKinnon is already thundering his way in a flat-out race against the clock on ground close to other traffic. Roger Clark knows he's up against tougher opposition than last year. Powerful works teams from BMC, Ford, Roots and Rover are lined up against him. Andrew Cowan in his Sunbeam Tiger. Oi, mind my paintwork. Here's Tiny Lewis's Imp, determined not to be outpaced by cars whose engines are in some cases 3 times the size of his. Number 11 is David Pollard, the third in the team of Imps. The pattern of the Scottish Rally follows that of the RAC Rally of Great Britain, a series of flat-out timed sections linked by comparatively leisurely motoring along main roads on which only a few competitors lose marks for lateness. The second special section, Cardrona, and Paddy Hopkirk, winner of countless major rallies, flings his Mini Cooper S about with deft skill. The surfaces are appalling chassis breakers. Fast, rough and tough is the keynote of the Scottish Rally, an event which has grown up from what was once merely a wit weekend holiday frolic into one of Europe's most exacting rallies. The contest hinges on the 52 special timed sections, their distances totalling nearly 300 miles. Here, each second taken over the stated target time incurs a penalty mark. Rosemary Smith, 26-year-old dress designer from Dublin, isn't deterred by the fact that she's up against many of the world's finest professional rallyists. She has faith in herself, in her navigator Sheila Taylor, and in her Imp. The exact route was a secret until just before the start, so practicing beforehand simply wasn't on, and I wonder how long that tyre will stay on. Tony Cox eventually holed the sump of his Rover 2000. But John Melvin, with fellow Scot Hamish Wilson, took their privately entered Sunbeam Tiger to win their class. Other privateers include Cook's Sunbeam Rapier, which kept in the chase until the last few miles. A chamois is a wild mountain antelope, except when prefixed by the word singer, when it becomes a formidable opponent to the Saab, a Swedish car with an enviable rally record behind it. What's that about people in glass houses not throwing stones? One of the Army's team of rovers has some running repairs. Well, not running really, more a tug of war. Oh, come on, it's time for lunch. And so, from the Cardrona special section, another relatively gentle amble through some of Bobby Burns' peaceful scenery. The rally is still in its early stages. There are tougher sections ahead. The start of one of them, and Timo McKinnon, winner of the 1965 Monte Carlo Rally, is accompanied again by navigator Paul Easter. When officials using walkie-talkies have checked that the route ahead is clear, Timo unleashes the power from the Big Healy's 3-litre engine. Hopkirk and Henry Liddon, another pair with a Monte victory to their credit, unleashed some rather smaller horses. Although McKinnon and Hopkirk are leading at present, Andrew Cowan isn't far behind in his Sunbeam Tiger, whereas the two Imps of Tiny Lewis and Rosemary Smith are both going faultlessly. Bertorelli and Straker's Daff later suffered from a broken drive belt. The two chamois thunder on in what Paddy Hopkirk afterwards described as the toughest, roughest rally he'd ever been in. Some Sometimes competitors are able to make up plenty of time on a main road section, and then they must wait their turn before setting out on the time section which follows. Apart from Mackinnon, Hopkirk and Roger Clark, the entry includes such famous names as Henry Taylor, David Siegel-Morris, Vic Elford, Alan Allard and Logan Morrison. Any driver who can beat such formidable opposition has to be good, and he's got to have a robust car even to finish at all. Roger Clark means business in this, his fourth Scottish rally, and Andrew Cowan isn't exactly dawdling either in his Sunbeam-Talbot. And still Tiny Lewis and Rosemary Smith, fresh from their tulip triumph, impishly challenge their bigger rivals. The surface varies from loose pebbles to gravel to rock outcrops and to hard rutted earth, conditions which test any car to its limits. At the end of a special section comes the moment of reckoning. Elaborate timing devices reveal just how many seconds over the target time each car has taken. He never was much good at adding up anyway. The Finn, Mackinnon, has neither time nor inclination to admire the Highland doorstep. He's already suffered delays through an ignition fault and a damaged sump shield. And still that pair from the West Country, Tiny Lewis and Robin Turvey, hammer on in their Imp. Roger Clark seems thoroughly at home amongst the Scottish mountainsides. There's a breakfast halt at Glencoe in Argyllshire, not far from Fort William, and Rosemary Smith and Sheila Taylor clock in safely at the control. Once the papers are checked, their car, like all the others, is locked away in a closed park where no servicing or repairs can be carried out. Andrew McCracken's Volkswagen shows distinct signs of a roll. And several service vehicles carry welding equipment for rush repairs. While this Tiger awaits its master's return from breakfast, Rosemary Smith moves off from Glencoe with some 40 miles ahead of her before the next special time section. Already many cars have dropped out, including the Ford Cortinas of Vic Elford, David Siegel-Morris and Brian Melia, all of whom shot off the road happily without injury. Yet more have retired with mechanical troubles. The original field of 105 is already sadly depleted before even the halfway mark. 25 special time sections have indeed taken their toll. The battle for the lead is still close between Hopkirk's Mini Cooper S, Clark's Ford Cortina GT and Mackinnon's Big Healy, but Tiny Lewis is right up close behind them in his Imp. Timo Mackinnon strives his utmost to gain back a few seconds. Tiny Lewis is no less determined, nor is Rosemary Smith going to be easy to defeat. And so they battle on, the suspensions taking a terrible bashing, the engines nearly always at peak revs, the brakes being punished viciously, and the gear levers seldom in top, until at last they come to the halfway mark, a night's stop in the heart of the Highlands at Grantown-on-Spey in Morayshire. It's an early start on Wednesday, with the forests waiting thirstily to sort out the survivors. Once again, the cars have been impounded overnight so that no repairs could be carried out on them. But down in the forest, something stirs. Yes, it's Timo Mackinnon again, refreshed by a night's sleep and fighting fit to resume battle. It takes more than a few Highland pebbles to disturb the unshakable Tiny Lewis in his Imp. Rosemary Smith uses all her experience to keep ahead of John Melvin's Tiger, but who'd blame John for chasing her anyway? And a privately entered imp follows in their wake. And so the rest of the survivors clatter their way through, led by a Renault which is taking it easy at this particular corner anyway. This Land Rover is being crewed by a couple of Army warrant officers. Perhaps they're after a forestry commission. We now leapfrog ahead of them, just in time to catch a Mini Cooper S in typical style. Bashed but unabashed, McCracken plods on. Hello, hello, hello. You're meant to turn right here, you know. Who said so? We did. A few more precious seconds lost. With Balmoral Castle typifying the grandeur of the Highlands, Ireland's Rosemary Smith moves on. Special section number 43, and Roger Clark's now in the lead. Hopkirk's Mini Cooper S having dropped out with transmission failure. But McKinnon's Austin Healey is still in the chase, although he too is later to retire with similar troubles. However, Logan Morrison's Rover 2000 continues, eventually to win his class. The Imps are equally at home in the dust of their native Scotland, for it's here that they're all made, as they were when prototypes were tested and proved across Kenya. Those grueling tests are now paying dividends. A broken differential on Henry Taylor's Cortina means a tow from Ron Clift's similar car. A French Peugeot, a car with a history of success in the East African safari. In spite of a damaged front suspension, John Melvin wastes no time in his Sunbeam Tiger. Into the woods again for special section number 48, and Logan Morrison in his Rover 2000 strives to ward off Rosemary Smith's defiant Imp. Rosemary is all set to win yet another ladies' prize, and with Sheila Taylor alongside her to help, she's going to add yet another trophy to those she's won earlier in the year in the Tulip Rally and in the Circuit of Ireland. Rosemary's Imp is indeed a force to reckon with. You might think this, the Corkscrew as it's aptly named, is yet another special section. But no, it's merely one of Scotland's public roads, linking one special section to another. Nevertheless, you can't afford to dawdle. Roger Clark is now way ahead in his Ford Cortina GT and is almost assured of victory, a repetition of his last year's performance in a similar car, again with Jim Porter as his co-driver. Rosemary Smith, with her much smaller Hillman Imp, is still amongst the leaders. Having dispensed with the Corkscrew, some more open Scotch Highlands are unbuckled. Grantown-on-Spey for the last time, but there's still 185 miles to go. Still another 4 special sections over which anyone could come unstuck. Tiny Lewis, now lying second, knows this only too well. So too does Rosemary Smith as she leaves the Parc Fermé to start the final day. Although Tiny, like Rosemary, would probably never admit it, this is a tense moment for both of them. Roger Clark could make a mistake. He could break down. If so, Tiny Lewis will win outright. Backing him up, the Imp of Rosemary Smith is in safe hands. Greenwood's privately entered Imp is also going splendidly, and so is Captain Bailey's Husky. The last of 52 special sections, Henry Taylor, delayed earlier by rear axle troubles, piles on the pace in his Cortina. Tiny Lewis. Logan Morrison's Rover 2000. And Rosemary Smith. McCracken, you just can't stop these Scots. Nor can you another Scot, John Melvin in his Tiger, while Anne Hall, not driving just this once, finds time to cheer them on. And so the 1965 International Scottish Rally draws towards its close. The Imps, including those privately entered, are much in evidence. Of the 105 cars which started 5 days ago, a mere 42 reached the finish. Proof indeed that the Scottish earns a place amongst the great rallies of today. Against a truly formidable opposition, the Hillman Imps, magnificently driven by Tiny Lewis and Rosemary Smith, not only finished 2nd and 5th overall, but also gained 1st and 2nd places in their class. Moreover, Melvin's privately entered Sunbeam Tiger wins its class as well. The words Eagle Lodge on the outskirts of Glasgow finally spell the end of the rally. To Rosemary Smith, accompanied this time by Sheila Taylor, goes yet another ladies' prize, following hard on her outright victory in the Tulip. To Tiny Lewis, 2nd place overall, as indeed he was in the Tulip also. Those girls show once again that an Imp is a match for anything, even against the brilliant driving of Logan Morrison. And so the Imps chalk up yet another major success, the 6th so far in the rallies of 1965. The Hillman Imp is a family car, but whether it's a question of shopping trips or a 3,000-mile continental holiday, it's a car that's built to last. And there's many miles of trouble-free motoring with economy. Mr. and Mrs. John Citizen can rely on a reputation gained, on good roads and bad, on a car that's been proved in the fierce competition of international rallies, on a test bench open for the world to see.